Welcome back to Ringside Stories. This is part 2 of the Triple G saga. In part 1, you saw that Bruce Vane's comparison between Wilder and Triple G was not based in facts, lacked proper context, and was simply outrageous.
He's done the exact same thing that Deontay Wilder has done. Period.
Bruce's main point of attack was Triple G's level of opposition, or lack thereof.
Fight a little bit to nobody, skis your way to title shots, and easing up on money. I ain't never liked Triple G.
Well, in this video, we're gonna go over Gennady Golovkin's career and why some fighters should have been on his resume when Triple G was ready for all of them. So let's roll back to the early 2010s. This was the landscape in the middleweight division. Gennady Golovkin had the WBA title, the IBF title was tossed around between Daniel Gill, Darren Barker, Felix Sturm, Sam Soliman, and an aged Jermaine Taylor before David Lemieux picked up the title in 2015. Peter Quillin was the WBO middleweight champion, and the WBC title was with Sergio Martinez, who was also considered the #1 middleweight in the world at that time. Triple G called out Sergio Martinez on multiple occasions, yet Martinez and his team never responded.
Like, who do you, if you had one choice, yes, if you could fight one person, who would you want to fight?
I think Sergio.
Sergio?
Sergio, yeah. It's very good. Who is? Why? Because he is #1 in the world. I am second.
Now, to Sergio's defense, he was in the game for a long time. And by the end of 2012, Martinez had been in multiple wars. He just came out of a fight with Chavez Jr. in which Martinez was dropped in the 12th and final round and suffered a severe knee injury. Objective boxing fans would agree that after the Chavez fight, Martinez was never quite the same. Although he was a fan favorite with many boxing hardcores, Martinez wasn't a big draw yet, even in his late 30s. He wanted a taste of that Pacquiao, Mayweather, and even Miguel Cotto money. Gennady Golovkin, who was considered the best middleweight behind Sergio Martinez, who wasn't a big draw yet himself, was also considered too much of a high-risk, low-reward situation. And after the Chavez Jr. fight, eventually Martinez defended his WBC middleweight title against Miguel Cotto in 2014 in what would be Martinez's final professional fight. A fight in which Martinez looked shot. Well, at least he got blessed with those decent paydays. Point is, when boxing fans were clamoring for a unification match between middleweights #1 and #2 around 2012-2013, Triple G called out Martinez multiple times and was ready to go, yet Team Martinez had other plans and avoided the fight with Gennady Golovkin.
Esos comentarios y ahorita cómo lo ves a este punto en su carrera.
Creo que es desde hace tiempo ya el mejor peso medio que hay del mundo. No sé cuáles son los comentarios que hizo, dijeron o alguien dijo, no sé, pero sí que es un gran boxeador. Llegamos en tiempos diferentes nada más. Cuando yo me fui, él se estaba empezando a hacer fuerte, así que tenemos una etapa distinta, un ciclo diferente, nada más. Solo es eso.
Martinez considered Golovkin the best middleweight for years. Martinez didn't deny avoiding Triple G. And so, although he was seen as the #1 middleweight in the world, it is clear that back in 2012-2013, when he was at the top of his game, Martinez wasn't pursuing the Triple G fight.
You were gonna fight Peter Quillin, if I'm
Peter
correct.
Quillin, yeah, I know him. I know him. I'm sparring. I'm together training. I can fight with Peter Quillin. Yeah, I'm open. Just, hey guys, let's go.
Most importantly, I do got a very powerful team to make sure I'm out there to get viewed for my fans. So I know things will happen, and I'm just blessed with God sent me anyway. So, you know.
Gennady Golovkin told me that he could knock you out. I know you guys are friends, but somebody's got to reign as champion.
Who said that? What did he say?
Golovkin. He said he could knock you out, that he trains with you and he can knock you out.
Listen, let me tell you what he did. He never... The sparring session was a skillful sparring session. I did more than 16 rounds with the guy. I still got my thoughts. He helped me get ready for Jesse Brinkley. You know, it was good. It was a good sparring session. Like, if he judged you know, how well he looks in sparring, okay, then so be it. But for me, you know what I'm saying, skill pay the bills. I'm a guy with only 15 amateur fights where they never thought I was going to ever be a champion. So that happened, and he was told his whole career that he was going to be a world champion and what it's going to be. So with that being said, why do I got to be worried about some guy that was ranked?
Knock him out, Peter.
I can knock anybody out. You know what I'm saying? Every guy I didn't touch, I didn't hurt him.
And hey, I like Peter Quillin, good fighter too. I love his energy in his interviews, and he's very eloquent at times. Yet it is clear that around that era of 2012, 2013, for whatever reason, Peter Quillin did not want to get into the ring with Gennady Golovkin.
What do you want now? Who do you want to fight now?
Sergio Martinez, Peter Quillin, please guys, I'm here, I'm staying here, I'm open, I want.
Now keep in mind that English isn't Golovkin's primary language, but don't misconstrue his disability to speak fluent English with not wanting to fight the best. So let's bring in Abel Sanchez, Golovkin's trainer at the time. This was Sanchez's take on why the opposition hadn't fought Golovkin so far, specifically fellow middleweight champions Sergio Martinez and Peter Quillin.
To me, the question should be to Martinez. Martinez, why don't you want to fight Golovkin? And have a good answer. What? Because there's not enough money? I'm sure there'll be enough money. Because he's too heavy? Or is it because he's killing everybody? You know, they have to answer those questions. Peter Quillin, and I'll mention him, stands behind the fact that there's a network war right now. There's HBO and Showtime that are fighting each other. Peter's an undercard fighter. If Peter wanted to prove he was the best, then you go fight the best and go back there. After you beat him, then go back and make Showtime even bigger. But there seems to be always an excuse on why we're not going to fight Golovkin. You know, when you mention his name, they all of a sudden become unavailable. All of a sudden, there's not enough money. All of a sudden, he's not known enough. You know, there's so many reasons why not.
After Martinez retired and Peter Quillin went his own way, Golovkin went after the other big names in the middleweight division.
There's Cotto that, you know, is a possibility. You still can't unify the titles. What do you see in 2015 for Triple G? What's the best case scenario?
In 2015, I want a pay-per-view fight. Who pay-per-view fighter? Yeah, of course, Miguel, of course, Saul Alvarez, of course, Chavez Jr., of course, you know. Who first? Doesn't matter.
All the respect to Miguel Cotto, who had a Hall of Fame boxing career. At the time he became middleweight champion, he did not have to prove anything.
You haven't admitted it, but it seems like the worst kept secret in boxing, that Cotto and Canelo will happen before too long. What do you feel about a fight with Canelo Alvarez?
I had 44 fights in my whole career. Canelo going to be just another one, the new chapter in my career. But first of all, and before Canelo's fight happened, if people want to fight, I want to fight, everybody wants to fight, let's do it.
Gennady Golovkin is sitting here ringside, and you just fought a guy who he knocked out recently, and you look just as good knocking the same fighter out. Do you have interest in that fight?
Why not? You know, but we need to do our fights. Canelo sounds to be the next one, and after that, if Gennady is available and if he wants to fight, I'm available too.
Although Cotto had nothing left to prove, he did choose to fight Canelo Alvarez and not Triple G. Cotto faced Canelo, Canelo faced Chavez Jr., and amidst those sweepstakes between 2015 to early 2017, Gennady Golovkin was left out. And keep in mind that the other former or even current champions at the time, with the exception of Daniel Gill, did not want to face Triple G. Felix Sturm at the beginning of the decade gave up his WBA super title as supposed to unify with Golovkin. And then you had the IBF champions Darren Barker, Sam Soliman, and again Felix Sturm. No matter how you slice it or dice it, Triple G was open to fight any of these guys, yet all of these champions never got in the ring with him, which left Golovkin with a unification match against hard-hitting David Lemieux. Although the numbers were low, Golovkin's wish to fight on pay-per-view in 2015 came to fruition. Golovkin's resume could have definitely been better, but it hasn't always been Golovkin's fault, because he and his team chased pretty much everybody. Whether it was a lack of financial compensation or something else, Cotto, Quillin, Chavez Jr., Martinez, Golovkin called out all of these guys, and if you include the other yet lesser-known champions, none of them took the Triple G fight. Bruce Vane ignored the period in Golovkin's career when multiple champions totally avoided him.
Fight a little bit to nobody, skis your way to title shots and easing up on money, but not fight no real competition. This is the same stuff people said in the beginning of Triple G's career. Why are we still saying the same thing at the end of Triple G's career?
And it took another 2 years, starting from the back end of 2015, before Canelo got in the ring with Triple G. In fact, Canelo promised to fight Golovkin in pretty much all of his post-fight interviews from the moment he became lineal middleweight champion in 2015.
What are your thoughts about fighting Triple G?
Me vuelvo a poner los guantes ahorita mismo con él.
If you want to fight him right now, put the gloves on right now and fight him now.
Does that mean that you will fight Triple G later this year?
Como lo dije en la pelea pasada, ahorita mismo me vuelvo a poner los guantes.
As I said in the last fight, right now I'll put on the gloves again.
Somos un equipo y no le voy a echar la culpa a mi promotor ni a nadie más. Somos un equipo, pero yo no le tengo miedo a nadie.
As I said, we're a team. We are a team, and I'm not going to blame my promoter or anyone else.
By fighting Amir Khan in May 2016, who, by the way, had to move up 2 weight divisions to challenge Canelo, Canelo effectively vacated his newly won WBC middleweight title instead of facing Golovkin, who at that time was his mandatory challenger. Fans were clamoring for that Triple G Canelo fight for years, and even trainers were pressing Canelo.
He took the risk. He gave up everything. No concessions. Now it's time for him to take the risk and quit hiding behind little stuff, okay? Amir took the risk.
Have you ever seen a trainer call out a fighter to fight another fighter that he himself doesn't even train? Virgil Hunter publicly expressed what was on many boxing fans' mind.
Amir set the tone. Fighters should fight each other. We're setting the tone. He took the risk. He did it. He got to quit hiding behind the flag and fight Triple G.
Here's Danny Jacobs' trainer, Andre Rozier, criticizing Canelo in 2017. Keep in mind that at the time of this interview, Canelo had already promised the Triple G fight for about 2 years.
The only thing that upsets me about Canelo is when you say you're going to do something and then you don't do it. Now, you say you were going to come and put yourself on the line and fight Triple G, but you didn't do it. So don't profess your actions and then fall back on it. In the law of the streets, that makes you a bitch.
Going off these trainers' remarks, it was clear that the pressure to make the Canelo Triple G fight was with Team Canelo, not with Team Golovkin.
What are your thoughts about fighting Triple G? Triple G, Triple G, Triple G.
And this is what Canelo Alvarez is talking about, man. Why don't you go do some work? Why don't you really try to put your heels in the dirt for once? You know what I'm saying? And try to earn this fight and make this fight bigger than what it can be.
Fact is, Triple G had been avoided and didn't have to do anything extra to sell that Canelo fight. And you know why? Because fans demanded the Canelo-Golovkin fight. In layman's terms, it was a meaningful fight. And Bruce, what happens when fans demand those types of fights?
Meaningful fights get paid for and bought. It get pay-per-view sales. Tickets get bought for meaningful fights.
And you're correct, because even though Golovkin was the clear B-side in both Canelo fights, both fights did well over 1 million pay-per-view buys each. The Canelo Triple G 1 fight did 1.3 million pay-per-view buys, grossing in around $100 million. The rematch between Canelo and Triple G did 1.1 million pay-per-view buys at a higher buying rate per pay-per-view and grossing in around $117 million. That was more than Canelo did against, for example, Miguel Cotto, who was a fan favorite and a big draw in his time. Yet still, Bruce doesn't want to recognize that Triple G is at least a legit force in boxing.
Man, he's fighting bums then, he's fighting bums now. How is he still fighting no name?
Fast forward to as recent as October 2019, Golovkin beat Sergey Derevyanchenko, who had around 300 amateur fights himself, was a bronze medalist at the 2007 Amateur World Championships in Chicago, and a 2008 Olympian. As a pro, Derevyanchenko destroyed former IBF champion Sam Solomon. Now this was a 42-year-old and of course past his best, but still an awkward customer and a very experienced fighter, who went 12 rounds a total of 23 times in his career. Up until the Solomon fight, Derevyanchenko himself had not made it past the 8th. So although you couldn't say it was a step-up fight, Solomon still offered good experience in what was Derevyanchenko's 9th professional fight. His first step-up took place on October 27, 2018, when he faced former champ Daniel Jacobs for the then vacant IBF middleweight championship. A back-and-forth fight, which had Daniel Jacobs winning a close split decision. And then after the fight, Jacobs said this about Sergey Derevyanchenko. At the making of this video, Sergey Derevyanchenko is still a top 10 fighter in 3 of the sanctioning bodies. So is Derevyanchenko a bum too? Well, that's the guy Golovkin beat in his last fight. So let's recap. In Golovkin's 10-year reign as middleweight champion, 1. He had been avoided in the previous era, between 2012 and 2014, by #1 middleweight in the world and WBC champ Sergio Martinez and WBO champ Peter Quillin. Between 2014 and 2017 by IBF champs Sam Solomon, Darren Barker, Felix Sturm, and by WBC champs Cotto and Chavez Jr. And in the current era where Canelo was pressured to fight Triple G after stalling for 2 years. 2. The Triple G Canelo fights proved to be lucrative twice, grossing more than Miguel Cotto, who was a big draw in his time. And both Triple G Canelo fights doing more than 1 million pay-per-view buys, i.e. more or around $100 million each. 3. Even though he has been avoided, Triple G has still fought fairly high caliber of opposition. As of recent, Triple G has beat Daniel Jacobs in a unification fight and beat a world-level title contender in Sergey Derevyanchenko, whose only loss to that point was against Daniel Jacobs. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I like Triple G, but he is not one of my favorite fighters. At the same time, I like Bruce Fane's work, but as of late, he has contradicted himself quite a bit. So in part 3 of the Triple G saga, I will get onto these contradictions and the blatant double standards that Bruce Fane has used against Gennady Golovkin. See, what I have a problem with is fake news and false narratives. So on this channel, we're dealing with facts, fairness, and proper context. That's coming up in part 3 of the Triple G saga, so stay tuned. What do you make of all this? Drop a comment below and let's have a conversation. Feel free to like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. This is Boxing's Objective Observer with Ringside Stories. Thanks for watching and have a legendary day.